Hello people from around the world. A lot to talk about today, so I'll get straight into it. Earnings season reports kicked off with quite a bad start, but looks like there's more bad news coming and being streamed in the US. I guess an interesting development that I actually was following was the Wachovia Bank, which is now going to have to raise $7 billion in capital, slashing payouts. It's posting pretty significant losses and increases their loan losses provisions. Now this sort of thing will happen if you're in a company that is in a bit of trouble. And also Citigroup too, they're in a little, looks like they're in a bit of trouble as well. Bank Stearns, still there's a lot of things brewing there, but it looks like the layoffs in the company are beginning. I think the CEO is still there, and it's happening fairly quickly, just as I suspected. But there's a lot of rumours going around now at the moment, a lot of whispers where the next collapse will be. Now obviously I think this is imminent, but it'll probably come a little bit later. I guess it's probably just a waiting game. Now overnight in China, in the Asian market from Australia, we were down as much as a few percent, but over in Asia, the Japanese market, Chinese market, were actually down like 5%, more than 5% today. Investors are bailing out, and they're getting very nervous about the earnings report coming out. And the nervousness probably won't die down until the earnings have stopped reporting. If you've been watching some of the news lately, it's absolutely devastating. You can see the effect of the subprime and inflation and the price of food that's increased. And it's hitting people around the world, especially people that are already starving. On the news last night, I watched with great sadness, I must admit, I'll be honest. And there's people who are facing hunger, malnutrition and starvation, and they're doing drastic things in order to survive. And sadly, we haven't even seen the worst yet. Wait till later this year, things will really heat up. You'll see exactly what I mean by people just, getting out of control. Starving and being hungry, if you've ever been in that situation, can make you do serious and drastic things. And that's why you are seeing some of the riots and people just desperate because they're so hungry. You'll see more of this later on in the year. On to gold and oil now. It was kind of funny because about a year ago I was telling a lot of my friends, a lot of my family that I called $100 a barrel for oil, $1,000 for gold, and that was like 12 months ago. People laughed at me, and I thought, okay, well, they're entitled to their own opinion. Now they're still laughing at me when I'm calling, $2,000 and $3,000 an ounce for gold, but it's going to happen. You've got oil now at about $111 a barrel on gains. The G7 talk on supply and demand issues. Gold at the moment is trading at about $927 an ounce and holding. You'll see it probably fluctuate around a little bit, but in the long run it's going up, and there'll be more profit taking like there was in the last few weeks. Significant drops, but the market continues to go down and gold will continue to go up. In the chart to see that there's a little bit of a bounce off that support level there of just under $900, but you'll see it slowly start to work its way back up. As I mentioned in previous videos, you'll see the gas prices soar, and there'll be some states that will have gas wars, and you'll see people waiting in line for hours just to fill up their tank. Prices are going to hit $5 per gallon, $6 per gallon in some states. And I've already had a few emails, people saying, it's getting pretty bad. One person from Australia here actually told me that they had to pay $2 a litre, and that's incredible for over here. A lot of people are ignorant, and they do not decide to wish to learn the truth and what's really going on behind, and then listen to the media and all the pundits out there that keep lying. Have you ever noticed Greenspan told the masses to get into tech right before the .com crash? Told the masses to get into housing right before that's crashing. Now he's telling the masses of people to get out of commodities. It's a bubble. I don't know, you seeing a pattern there? Makes one think, doesn't it? Now they're telling we're in a recession. Yes, they've admitted it, but it's a recession of choice, and companies have enough money to get through the hard times. Not true. Let's consider what they're really meant to be doing and managing, but destroying. It's the dollar, the depreciation of the dollar. The trade deficit and the budget deficit means that literally the USA is bleeding away. Funds and assets are dribbling overseas. These funds must come from somewhere, but the actions of the Fed have stemmed away any run on stock markets, and the depreciation of the dollar, which you are ultimately seeing, is not being fixed. And any time this happens, gold and oil normally does really well if you go back historically. And when USA catches a cold, the rest of the world catches pneumonia. There's going to be a sharp economic downturn, and it will spread quickly to other countries, causing sharp international frictions. I think, personally, that the year 2008 is going to be very significant, but I think something even more that I have seen is a shift in people's perception and how they're actually thinking about the world, thinking about the credit crisis and how that's affecting them personally and other people. And in saying that, there's now what I'm calling a stagnation of change. And basically, just think about for a second how you have been listening to the media, what your thoughts on the media are, and how you found YouTube videos like myself, and how that is helping you in your own personal life, and how you're surviving and managing to work jobs and feed your children and your loved ones. But I think, as I said, I'm calling it stagnation, and it's basically pulling you in to two different halves. And this year, it's where a lot of people, including yourself and myself, are starting to think differently. You'll become very suspicious of what you're being told, and what will happen is you'll probably fit into two camps. You'll rely on the government and the news media to bring you what is termed the truth, or you're in the other camp where you'll become suspicious of what you're told, and you'll be able to see through political lies of government, expert opinion, and distrust of some of the mainstream media. So in that regard, I think it's going to be such a big dramatic transition, and it's going to start people opening up their eyes to the reality and the truth that's really out there, and they'll start to question or tire of what they were being told. And this form of resistance is where it can hold things in check. I guess a really good example of this can be put down into a real life example. So, say for example, there's a lot of people out there, or liars, telling you that the housing price and the property prices are okay and they will not rise this year, but they will steady. Well, okay, let me just translate the lies for you, because I actually see the opposite. They are worried about their greedy lifestyles because the housing market is set to deteriorate further, and a lot of people have their wealth locked up in their houses or property. And these people know that it's going to be another bumpy year for foreclosures and repossessions. And they're making up excuses to try and get people to stay in their houses and do all sorts of things so that property prices will stay the same. But it's not going to happen. And also this year, I think it's important that every single year, but this year being significant, there's going to be an increase of natural events like your earthquakes, floods, storms, hail damage, everything like that. And from 2008 to 2009, it's doing damage to houses and cars and properties. And this is related so closely to the credit crisis in the financial world. Why? Well, insurance companies are receiving all these claims. Weather gets worse, there's going to be more insurance claims, and it's going to send these companies that are already in trouble crumbling to the grave. And these are the companies that are already hurting with some of the credit crisis. And I know for certain that some of the insurance companies here in Australia are only just recovering, from the massive big storms we're having. But think about in the US, where there's been Hurricane Katrina. There's insurance companies that are nearly going broke just from the insurance claims coming from that. But there's going to be more things like this happen as the weather and the climate changes all through this year. But anyway, just a few important points just to note there. I want to thank you. Hope you're getting some really good insight from these videos. I urge you to think differently, listen to the truth, enjoy your day, and I'll talk to you all very soon.